that's really the goal, is just finding a way to improve every single time that we're out here, to finding a way to develop some consistency. I thought going out there today, all three of them did stuff that at points throughout practice we could get really excited about. And that was awesome to see. Now, we've got a long way to go because it's about doing consistently. And, there was other times in practice where all three of them had plays that they probably wish they had back. So it's such an important time of the year, and it's so exciting for those guys to continue to grow and get these opportunities every time that they walk out on the field to get a little bit better, and it's going to be really critical to their development.
The thing that stands out about Julian, I guess, is the quick release. How special is that, especially with the arm strength and the accuracy?
Yeah. Julian definitely has a quick release, that's for sure. I think that it can definitely be an advantage, in just the ability to get the ball to the receivers quickly. But at the same point, you can't sacrifice arm strength for a quick release. So we're continuing to work to build that arm strength, to strengthen his core, to work rotationally, because he is such a rotational thrower. So to be able to maximize his movements both between his lower half and his upper half, so he can get that ball out with enough velocity to be successful. So, it definitely has a quick release, but, there's so much more to playing the position of quarterback than just having a quick release. So we're really working through all those other things right now.
Taking familiarity with this program, having spent so much time around it before he even got here, do you see that he's maybe more comfortable this early on than maybe other guys might be because he's been around the program and the guys for so long?
Yeah, at the end of the day, he's still a guy that should be in high school. Does it help that he was around all spring last spring and in a bunch of meetings? Yeah, I think so. But at the end of the day, he's sitting there in those meetings, but he still has his own offense to go run in the following fall. So his mind is more on that probably than it is on really studying all the details of different concepts in the scheme that we're running here. So is it the first time that he's hearing, a lot of things? Yes. Are there a couple things that are a little bit familiar? Yes. So I think somewhere there can give you a little bit of advantage. But at the end of the day, it's, just trying to find a way that he can continue to learn and grow and get better every single day. And I think he knows that the amount of work that has to be put in to get to the point where he wants to be. And what I'm excited about Tavian is he's committed to put that work in.
Does that show up more in the classroom or on the field? Him maybe not being completely green on everything that's going on here.
I guess I don't understand your question.
Like, him being here essentially this long and being in meetings last year and being around the program as long as he's been around the program, does that show up more on the field or in the classroom in terms of if there is any advantage for him?
Yeah, he wasn't out here practicing last year, so the first time that he was out here running around on the field was in December when he came up for a practice as an early enrollee, or January, whenever that was. So I think there's a little bit of advantage there just because he did get to see practice before. But I think that you do have some understanding and awareness of the offense, and maybe it's not the first time you hear about the formations, but to be able to go and apply that to the field, that takes a lot of work. So there is a slight advantage there just from how much he was around the program. But I'm not sure if, in the meeting room or on the field about which one affects more. Ultimately, we're judged based on what we do on the field, and our goal is to go out there and execute.
How do your guys show that they're the toughest guys on the team when they can't be touched?
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. So if we want to show we're the toughest guys on the team, we can do that by showing we're the hardest working guys on the team. We can show that we're the mentally toughest guys on the team. We can make sure that we don't ever get too high or too low, and we play with passion and emotion, without letting that emotion and passion play with us and affect us. And we talk a lot in the quarterback room about moving on to the next most important thing. So if I have a play where maybe I made the wrong read or screwed something up, I've got about a half a second, right, to kind of be bummed out about it, right? But I've got to learn from it, and I've got to move on to the next most important thing, because so many guys let that first play affect the next play. So we're really working to continue to grow from that. But as far as showing that we're tough, I even tell our guys that, hey, if I'm Austin Sarabeld, and I'm watching film, and I see in the back of that film that Julian is up or Tavian is up, but Lincoln and the opposite of Julian and Tavian are standing in the back doing a mental rep, like, that gives me confidence, if I'm Austin, that those guys, one, understand what they're doing, and two, are committed to get better, right, and are going to be in position to be tough when we need them to be tough. So, like, little things like that are something that we're constantly working on to show that we're in that position.
What have you seen from Lincoln in your first year working with him to now what he's been able to do?
Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of growth from getting in here in June last year and to where we see him at now. It's just a full year of understanding the offense, a full year of getting a feel for what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish, and just the small, minute details about where my eyes need to be, how I can tie my feet in with my eyes, how I can make sure that I'm not just throwing the ball to the right receiver because that's what my read dictates, but I'm also throwing it at the right time, and I have accuracy within that accuracy that I just displayed by putting it on the right shoulder, right, or the right, to offset our receiver and throw him away from a defender or whatever that may look like. So that's what I'm excited, because you're starting to see more and more of that from Lincoln as we get into the 2 practices, and we've only had 2 practices, but just that growth that I don't think is a growth that happened over 2 practices, a growth that happened from the time we got here and I got here in June through right now, and that's what's exciting.
He's had now 3 quarterback coaches in 3 years, 3 play callers in 3 years. Can that be like an advantage for him of like understanding different concepts, different reads, having to see things through different lenses because he's had so many different voices in his head? Or how do you kind of engage that?
Yeah, I mean, he's had different quarterback coaches, but the reality is it's been the same pass game. It's been the same system. So it's not like we changed the way we read a play based on who the quarterback coach was before. We may make slight tweaks, right, or adjustments, or add a new concept in or two. But I think what Lincoln can get from having those 3 different quarterback coaches is maybe just 3 different, slightly different perspectives where the message is still the same. So maybe it's just a slightly different delivery of the same message. And I think that can definitely be an advantage, because he still knows, on this concept, this is who my read is, but maybe he heard it a different way over the last 3 years. That I guess could be an advantage.
If you are these quarterbacks and they're supposed to be the toughest guy, first guy in the building, last guy to leave, but they're all trying to do that, how do you then separate yourself as one of those guys, given they're all trying to strive to do the same things Coach Jay's preached?
Yeah, I think the ultimately, right, is, can I sustain it? Can I be the guy that does it the most consistently? I think every single one of them, I know every single one of them saw that quote by Coach Day, which, is pretty awesome. It's so real. It's who we have to be. We've got to be the toughest guys in the building. We've got to be the hardest working guys in the building. So it's easy to go ahead and, do that and be that guy, the next day after seeing that quote. Can I continue to be that guy when we're in practice 11 of spring ball, or we're in summer and we're going through workouts with Coach Mick, and it's June 17th, can I be that guy with that consistency all the way up through fall camp and into moving on into next year? And I think that, anyone can do something just once, but can I be the guy that can do it with consistency? And if you look at anyone that's done anything great, it's been because of their consistency.
Billy, as you're evaluating all the traits, can he be the quarterback at Ohio State fit in? The kind of magnitude of, is he able to handle that position? Where does that fit into your evaluation?
Yeah, I think, all these guys a lot of that was done in the recruitment process. I'm confident that all 3 of them can be the guy at Ohio State. I think that, those guys have already kind of checked that box. So, now it's just a matter of who goes out and wins the job. And again, we are so far away from that point, but, when we're recruiting a guy, we try to figure all that stuff out. We're gathering as much data as we possibly can to learn about the person and to understand their mental makeup and to make sure that they're a fit. It's pretty cool up in the quarterback room. We've got pictures of all the, great Ohio State quarterbacks up on the wall, and, you go through and take a look at those guys, and, it's just pretty neat. But above all, you can talk about some of the different guys' mental makeup and what made them different. And so how do we find those guys and bring them in recruiting? And so we get to the point like we are now where you feel really confident about all 3 of those guys, that they are, mentally tough enough and can be at that point that they can be that guy.
What do you think?
Last question.
What do you think they learned the most from Will and the job he did last year overall?
Oh, man.
Close to that?
Yeah, where do I start? Will, when it came to intangibles, was, I can't say I've been doing this for 35 years or anything crazy like that, but was by far the best I've ever seen do it. And just as far as what he did the best, I think of just having such a complete understanding of the offense, from the run game to the pass game to the protections. Just understanding, the ins and outs and the little details and everybody's job and where, certain concepts or protections or play styles were weak and how to adjust them if we were going to see something that made us weak there. And having that total command, because I think, a big part of trust is showing that, I'm competent and I understand. And so Will built that trust in his teammates by showing that, he was extremely competent, that he understood everything and all the ins and outs, and he could tell everybody on the field what to do. And from there, then he built it, grabbed on and grabbed the trust of all of his teammates, and then he could start to lead. The biggest thing, it's tough to say, but I think that everything that he did was kind of built off his total understanding of what we were trying to do offensively.
Great. Billy, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.